Alright, so welcome back. Time for the lab for this unit. The lab for this unit, what we're going to do is we're going to implement the Lights Out game um, based on your Lights Out CSS only lab that you did. So hopefully you completed that lab because we're going to build on it this time. So there's a link in here with a lot of information about the lab. So you should go look at this link. I'm going to start by doing a demo though. So the Lights Out CSS only that you did last time, what you did is you just hovered over things with your mouse, and whenever you hovered over them, they just changed light on, right? And same with the game, you hovered over it and the game just kind of came on. This time, what you're going to do is you're going to take away that hover feature. So like before we had like dot light colon hover. That rule is still useful, but you're going to change it to like just being a different class. I called my class light on, I think, or something like that. And then JavaScript is going to be the one that either adds that class or doesn't to make the light be on. So let's go ahead and start looking at the solution. Oh, I should mention that the starting code that you've got in the project has no CSS in it. You're going to have to copy all your CSS over from your old lab and then change the hover feature. So let's look at the solution. So here's a solution that actually has JavaScript. You can see that whenever I hit refresh page, which is slightly off the screen, what it does is it randomly picks new lights to be on. So you never know what lights you're going to get on whenever you start a new game. And the idea is that you need to add JavaScript such that when you click, it changes not just him, but the two people next to him as well. So a click here makes all three of those guys go out. And so your goal is to turn all the lights off. So if I click right here in the middle of these three, I'm going to win the game. So it says you won in 9 moves. Once the game is won, clicking on light should do nothing, right? So you can't click on lights once you've already won the game. And then the new game button, this is your choice. If you want to leave it as changing on hover, that's fine. I changed it to where it only changes on active in this version. Either way is fine with me there. So your goal is to try to get the lights off in as few moves as you can. There I won in 4 moves. If you get good at this, it's not really that hard. Essentially what I do is I just kind of chase it around, right? So if I'm trying to turn like this light off first, and then I want that light off, and then I want that light off, and then I chase it into a corner, and then it should finish with either 1, 2, or 3 lights. If it finishes with 2 or 3, it's very easy, and if it finishes with 1, well, I have a trick where I click on that 1 and then I chase it out to the other side, and that works, right? So this is the game. There are some requirements on it. Oh, by the way, sometimes in other versions of this lab, we let you do it to like if you get all the lights on. Oh, so here, this is that weird situation. That all the lights on is also a win. I don't want you to allow that, right? So if all the lights are on like that, it means you should keep going, right? So if all the lights are on, that's no good, and your job is to get all the lights out, right? Oh, this is my favorite one. Whenever there's one there, I found that if I just click on it and then I chase it out to the other side, that actually works out pretty well to finish the game that way. So this is the thing that you're trying to implement. There are some additional like rules on how you must implement it. So it's not just completely freeform. There are some rules I'm going to put on you. If you go into the Lights Out lab, you can see that some of the rules is that you're required to use objects, right? That's the whole point of this unit is JavaScript objects. So I'm going to make you use 2 objects, one to store the model and one to serve as the controller. I picked names for them, so I called mine linear game, that's the model, and then Lights Out controller, well, that's obviously the controller which does the interaction. And then you should make another file called main, which does little more than create an instance of the Lights Out controller, just to kind of start the ball rolling. So there's a little bit of information in here in the lab about how you should make those changes to your CSS from last time, copy that file in, making the files and what you should name the files. If you name the files different, that's okay, but you may as well use these names. That way when I look at your code, it'll make sense to me. And then I've got some advice for the Lights Out game and some advice for the Lights Out controller, which you can take it or leave it, right? So I'm just saying the way I chose to implement it was I had an array of 13 booleans that kept whether the light was on being true or off, which was false. You could do it that way if you wanted. Doesn't matter to me. The way that I created a new game was I actually started with a game board where they were all off, and then I just did a bunch of random clicks. that can be useful because some variations of the game are unsolvable. I think with 13 they're all solvable, but with lower numbers they're not always solvable. So I added this just to make sure it started from a solution to be guaranteed that it's always solvable. And then I recommended some other functions for you. So like you should probably have a function that like tells your model that a light got pressed at a certain index, maybe helper methods if you would like, something to check for wind, things like that. You also notice that there's a requirement that it tracks how many moves you've got. So it should track the total number of moves. So you're going to have to track moves somehow in this model as well. And then I've got a little bit of advice, less advice for the lights out controller. The main one that I wanted to say in here is that you should create a game, and then probably the only thing that you might find useful is getting the index. There's just a little jQuery trick. It's called index. So if you want to know like which light just got clicked, keep in mind that in the callback it'll be this, right? So whatever just got clicked, you can actually figure out what its index is using the jQuery index function. And you may not have known that function existed. So I just thought I'd tell you about it. And I use that to try to like tell my model which one just got clicked. And I found that to be useful. And then you also have to write functions like handling new games and updating the view and things like that. So go forth, write this lab. It's a little bit bigger than some of the other labs. Once you get it all working perfectly, you get all the kinks ironed out, redeploy your web dev links, and submit the URL here. By the time you finish that lab, you will have finished this unit, and you should know a lot more about how objects can help you organize your code. To be honest, a lot of JavaScript developers don't use objects at all, but to be honest, I think they should, because I think object-oriented programming is really powerful, and I love the encapsulation. I just love how it makes things work. So I recommend you use objects, but obviously a lot of people choose not to. Decide for yourself what you'd like to do, but now you've got another bag of tricks available for your JavaScript development. All right, that's it for this unit. I'll see you next time.